let us bring on the man, the myth, the legend. You're talking about Jeff Hosler, MSU women's soccer head coach. Welcome to This is Sparta, Jeff.
Thanks so much, Jason. Far and above away, the best intro I've ever had. So I do appreciate that.
All right. And I was about to say, I'm surprised you didn't come on and like, I'm not a myth.
First time I've been on with you guys in 30 seconds. Otis is already blowing me up.
Oh. Man, well, welcome, man. I appreciate you. I know you could be anywhere else, but you are here with us on a lovely Tuesday evening, man. And what you've done for obviously the women's soccer program in your year two can't go unnoticed. Clearly, I mean, I'm sure you hear it every time where you go, but just the stats, man. I think we're gonna roll this. We gotta tell the fans and subscribers, obviously, bullets of like what you have accomplished in short time. So, one, you're the third women's head coach in history. You took over for Coach Saxton, so we're talking a long career of coaching. But the best part is you're a local. You know, let's talk about being from here, like living and breathing East Lansing, but talk about being here and how that helps with this program now.
Yeah, no doubt. It's certainly an honor for me to be the head coach of the women's soccer program here. And as you touch on, you know, Joe Baum, Tom Saxton, you know, before me, just incredible people, great coaches, and just trying to do my best every single day. You know, I wake up every day, Otis, you know, and drive over here. I live in currently the neighborhood next to the one I grew up in. It's the same route that I took to Jennison Fieldhouse when we grew up with season tickets for basketball. And as they moved over to Breslin was season tickets for the family and for my dad's work. And drive by that Sparty statue every day before you turn into Jennison lot, man. It's really surreal, you know, and back then Old College Field, the soccer field went a different way, and DeMartin Stadium's, you know, new since those days. But to be able to be here, work at Michigan State, be in the athletic department, be the head coach is, I mean, it's truly a blessing, and I'm so honored to be the head coach.
Definitely. Talk about when the job obviously came open and available. Like, you're winning championships at Grand Valley. Like, you've put a body of work where it's very respected and where you've recruited very well over there on the west side of the state. Talk about when this job opportunity came about and how it was presented to you and how you went at it and, you know, interviewed to get the role.
Yeah. You know, for me, the success I had at Grand Valley State, and we won 3 national championships. We played in 2 other, you know, Final Fours championship games. By the time I got midway through my tenure at Grand Valley, I mean, I had several different opportunities. People reach out, you know, to coach Division I programs for sure. But even at the Power 5 level, to be a head coach at various schools. And every time Grand Valley did a great job supporting me. We love being in the Grand Rapids community. My wife actually is also from East Lansing here, although we didn't meet till 27 at a local establishment that will remain unnamed because I don't know if they have any deals here with you all.
I was afraid if Chu was here, he would have asked you for sure, like, hey, what establishment?
Tell us.
No, it's one that's been around since we were all in school. So, but I digress here. So we, you know, the conversations we had a lot as a family were Grand Valley was so good to me, so good to us. Grand Rapids was a great community. They wrapped their arms around me and our family when we first moved there. And really it was about like being picky. Like, it was really hard to leave Grand Valley, but obviously Michigan State's one of those programs that was always in the back of my mind. I mean, as I already alluded to, being from here, with both families being from here, the friends that I have in this community that are just the same as family, just not from the same blood. You know, to be able to be around them every day, to have them be part of this experience too. You know, you're always going to find a lot of those same people in the parking lot for tailgates or at the games or following online, and just tremendous support. And I felt like this could be a sleeping giant. There's a lot of talented soccer in the state of Michigan. There's a lot across the Midwest. Obviously, the brand that Michigan State is in athletics and as an institution, I felt could attract some of the best players from across the country. And, you know, we got off to a fast start, and that's obviously helped things. But I'm sure we'll get into all that.
You know, Jeff, you're talking about the beginning. Let's take it all the way back. You know, you obviously, we can get into your record at Grand Valley State and the Gilead record and what you've done at Michigan State currently. But where did it start? Where did your love for soccer come from?
Man, Jason, I was one of those kids, just like I think most kids that grew up here in America. You were forced to play soccer when you were 4 or 5 or 6, and that's where you first started. And I was like that. I played soccer, I played basketball, baseball. I tried to play a little bit of football, but I was way too skinny and too slow. So I learned that pretty quick in middle school. So for me, like, I loved soccer. I loved basketball. I played both all the way through. I was a 2-sport athlete in college at a D3 school where I got my coaching career, Alma College, 45 minutes up the road. Just the all the lessons that you learn in the game, the ability to deal with adversity, the resiliency, the connections you make, the memories you have, the hard work you put in, and how fulfilling that hard work can be when you get results. And in the same way as I talked about my family being from here, like I had a father that was very involved in the youth community. He probably coached, I think they estimate, around 85 different youth teams during his lifetime. I'm the oldest of 4 kids, so our house was kind of the house everyone piled into. And I'm veering off a little bit on your question about
that's good. No, that's good.
But like all of those connections is what kept bringing me back. We'd go to my youngest sister's soccer practice and I'd help coach it. A guy in the neighborhood recognized how much I enjoyed it. I started assistant coach of a U13 team when I was 12 years old. So I was involved in all of it. And if you want to like true grassroots story to all this, I mean, the very first thing, I was super fortunate. I played for Nick Archer, Michigan State alum. He was a Michigan State men's soccer national champion and the head coach, legendary coach at East Lansing High School. So I got to play for him. And then when I graduated college, he asked me to come over. He asked me, like, he was super sly. Okay. This is like at the beginning of the cell phone era, like T9 text and all that. And this dude didn't call me or text me. He called my landline because I was living at home right after college. And he called my landline because he knew my mom would wake me up and told me to come get out to the soccer field. So I figured I'd knock it around or something. And next thing I know, he hands me a clipboard and a whistle and says, "You're coaching the freshman team at East Lansing." I'm like, okay, I guess so. So I guess that's what I'm doing now. And then the varsity basketball coach learned I was back and immediately had me coaching middle school basketball. So like my climb is pretty cool for anyone that's out there that's getting into coaching that has aspirations, or just how funny life works sometimes. Because I went from middle school basketball and freshman soccer to varsity basketball, varsity soccer assistant coach, to Division III college head coach, to Division II at Grand Valley head coach, to now here at Michigan State. So it's a true grassroots story every step of the way, and you don't hear those very often. So I think it's a good message, that you don't have to start at the top. You can work your way there.
Man, you definitely did it brick by brick, like each level. There's an article out there that states like, hey, you were painting lines on the field to prepare for the game you were coaching. Like, you went from, hey, other duties assigned, which is all the duties assigned. Right?
All the duties. That list was super long, and that was during my time at Alma College. Super grateful, and we had a great support staff, but you're not lying, Otis. I mean, there were on game days, cutting the grass sometimes, lining the field, taking a shower to meet with a recruit or 5 recruits, because we had to bring in, 15 to 20 players every year as part of the extension of the admissions office sometimes, and then go coach a game and then peel out of the parking lot, burning rubber to get back and coach some club where that's what was really paying the bills at the time. So it's helped grow the appreciation for everyone around you. That every job, every person's role is incredibly critical to the success of the whole program. And we try to preach that as a staff. Well, we certainly as a staff, but within our group. I think you talked about MJ and being around her a bit, and her expressing the specific gratitude to you and what you've been able to do for her. It's something, if I think you're around our team a lot, you'll see, the janitors, those doing the maintenance, the marketing team, all the people we're super incredibly thankful for.
Wow. Yeah, Coach, you, 2022 Big Ten Coach of the Year. This is year 1. And obviously you absorb the current roster and then immediately come in and, not say you shake up the roster, but you try to get, some recruits in transfer portal and kind of make roster management. Coming into it, goals that you set for yourself, but also the program, was that on the goal for year 1? Because typically some people come in as like, all right, we got a 3-year, 4-year plan. But I feel like knowing you came in as like, we got to change it. We got to go in. We are going to win championships. But year 1 to be Big Ten Coach of the Year, and win the Big Ten championship. Talk about from when you took over the team to then getting to that monumental, like, first in school history. Like, just talk about year one going into now year two and how you kind of set that up for foundation wise.
Yeah. So I think it's super important for people to understand, and in coaching, you know, when you guys see coaches, it's not coach speak when you're talking about process. Like, we're very, very process driven, and you have to be patient to some degree. But at the same time, like, when I got this job and put together my staff and told them about how we're going to get to work, like, our expectation was to be the best team we could be every single day. We were going to pour everything we had into it. And that's our expectation, because if we're not doing that, how are we going to ask that of our student athletes? And to be honest with you, as much as, like, the methodology obviously has worked, such a big part of this is that these players, like, they opened their arms to us. They allowed our ideas to be pursued because they were willing to. They trusted us. It was almost like they had to have, because of the timeline, they'd have some blind trust in that we knew what we were doing. We shook up a lot of different things. While at the same time, the previous staff, while they're coming off a year that they didn't have a lot of results, they had done such a good job of setting a foundation for family and the way that you care, respect, and treat people. So we're able to step into that environment. Obviously, different pieces. We brought in a lot of players through the transfer portal because in our sport, you recruit players so early. You know, you don't really see the fruits of your labor in recruiting until 2 years later because they commit so early in their high school careers or youth careers. So really, so much of this credit, I know you're trying to give it to me here, it belongs to these players for them trusting me, buying in, and then understanding how to work and allowing me to help them get where they needed to be on game days.
Coach, you just brought up in your sport that the players commit very early. What age is typical for a soccer woman to commit?
Yeah, so there is something called the early recruiting rule where you cannot contact anybody until June 15 prior of your junior year. That's when first phone calls can happen. That is basically because of women's soccer and women's lacrosse. And that's because players were committing all the way back as early as, like, 8th grade. You know, like, I don't know how much you guys follow, but you remember, like, Damon Bailey at Indiana, like that whole story. Like, he committed as an 8th grader, you know, and, like, how much there was in Sports Illustrated. It was on, you know, sport. I mean, everyone knew about that story. That was starting to become fairly common ground in women's soccer, where 8th graders, I mean, there's some schools down in the South that had their entire recruiting classes done before any of those kids had a single day in the classroom their freshman year in high school. So it was getting out of control, and people recognize that. I mean, you don't know what that kid's going to be. You don't know how much they're going to grow. And obviously, you know, girls mature a little bit faster than boys physically in terms of their height. So you have a better idea of what they're going to be. But you're still guessing. You're still throwing darts at a board at that time. So that was really put into place because of those two sports, women's lacrosse, women's soccer. And I think we're about 5 years in now where we can't start recruiting kids. But I got to tell you, like, our coaching staff on June 15, like, everyone that's permitted to make phone calls, like, we had a call list of 50 or more players because we're trying to get with all of the top 150, 200 players in the country. And players that we believe can make an impact for us. So it happens early. You know, recruiting classes typically will start forming out, you know, like, I mean, the majority of the top 25 programs in Power 5, which I believe we are, and have proven that now consistently in the last couple of years. You know, you're rounding out probably 75, 80% of your class before October 1st.
Wow. So, you know, your record at Grand Valley, I mean, listen to this, everybody. 144, 12, and 6. In the Gilliac, you're 63, 2, and 2, which is, I mean, those are outstanding numbers from a coaching perspective. You did this prior to the NIL transfer portal era. As you got into Michigan State, you know, this is becoming more robust. You talked a little bit about the transfer portal and your strategy there in the process for getting the team up to speed quickly. How has NIL, because we talk about this a lot with the major sports like football and basketball, and how has NIL affected your sport?
I think on some levels, it's largely affected it. I mean, there are players that across the country, you know, we have 2 players that have Nike contracts through NIL. You know, women's soccer with the national team success that we've had, with a strong American league with the NWSL and Americans playing overseas. There's really, highly recognizable names, that are playing in the sport. And just like all other sports, they're trying to find that next young player that's going to be a star when they're older and get them on contract early. And so, there are players out there that across the country have NIL deals anywhere from, $1,000 or exchange of food and things like that to as high as $50,000, $75,000 annually in our sport.
Wow, because we know about Messi and those guys. I mean, those numbers in soccer get crazy.
We're not talking NIL when we're talking Messi.
I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Coach. Let's talk about this year's team. You had some student athletes graduate last year. You brought in some new blood here, and you're off to a great start in the Big Ten play. Had some bouts with some ties, some draws, but talk about this season as you're getting prepared for Maryland on Thursday.
Yeah, really exciting group that we have here in 2023. We graduated some incredible players. Last year, we had, not only won the Big Ten, but we did undefeated and then went to the Big Ten tournament final also. So we had great team success, and with that comes some individual accolades. So last year alone, we had the forward of the year in Lauren DeBow. We had the defender of the year in Ruby Diodati and the goalkeeper of the year in Lauren Kozel that all graduated, with 2 of them being drafted in NWSL by the Portland Thorns. So when you have players like that go off and graduate and take the next steps, we are one of 10 programs across the country because there's only 12 teams in NWSL and only 3 rounds in the draft. So only 36 players are being selected. So to have 2 of them, we were one of 10 programs across the country that had more than 1 player selected. So that tells you how special that group was individually. And for them to go off, we're super proud of them, super excited for them. And I think we're a program that will continue to produce those types of players. But in a lot of ways, we're a very different team, because of the personnel. And that's just the pros. We had some other big name players that were all conference Big Ten. And if they weren't recognized, were significant contributors on game day for us. So we have a roster of 31. We have 16 new faces on campus for this fall compared to last year, between transfers and a large 10-player freshman class. And so it took a little while for us to get going. I think, the meshing of personalities. We had various ages in our transfer group too. Some grad transfers, some kids that were now in their second year of college. And it hasn't been all smooth when you add that many new players into the mix. But I think what's really cool is a lot of those players that were very effective for us last year are now kind of in a more star role, and they deserve to be because they've worked incredibly hard at their craft. They're performing at a very high level, and these other players are now really starting to step up. So I'm thrilled with where we are right now. Obviously, there's a lot of work still to do. We're off this. I'm sure I'll be back pouring over film again and getting some additional ideas for our player meetings tomorrow. But I like where our group's at. Last week was obviously a massive, massive week for us to go on the road, to be on the road 5 consecutive days, to sleep in different hotels 5 days, and deal with all that travel to beat Minnesota on the road and score 3 goals against an opponent that has not conceded multiple goals in a match all year was big. And then to win on the road at Wisconsin on BTN, our 3rd nationally televised match of the year. And I don't know if you guys know all these stats, but if you're stat people, here's a crazy one for you. Last time women's soccer beat Wisconsin was in 2007.
Wow.
And the last time we won at Wisconsin was in 1999. So that's how big and how difficult it is to knock down the Badgers and to do it on the road.
Well, we can add.
What I can tell you without having to make you work hard on the math is that clearly none of our players were even born or even a glint in mom and dad's eye at that
point. That's right.
Man.
No question about it.
Right.
Real quick before we get, I want to ask you about the expansion of the Big Ten that's coming into play next year. When you're talking about, because adding Washington, Oregon, UCLA, and USC, what is the outlook of soccer in those regions now as they come to the Big Ten?
Yeah, so the landscape in women's soccer across the country is, for the last decade or so, the ACC has been largely considered the strongest conference in women's soccer. And now this is the third year now where Big Ten's really been knocking in terms of analytics, statistics, non-conference records, head-to-head against common foes in those, ACC Big Ten matchups. The Big Ten actually had the highest winning percentage in non-conference play this year. So that obviously will bode well for us in terms of NCAA tournament selection for our conference. And when you're talking about being kind of 1A and 1B in terms of the top power conferences or top conferences in the country for soccer, and now you add in a Washington that just graduated and had 7 kids go pro, both domestically and overseas. And you have Oregon and the brand that Oregon brings across the board in all their sports. And then you have USC, who's won 2 national championships in women's soccer in the last 12 years, and UCLA, who just won the national championship last year. Man, I don't know if there's any debate anymore. I don't think there's any debate any longer. So I'm excited to welcome it. I'm always up for those challenges. I've got a little bit of that mentality that Izzo carries of the, anytime, anyone, anywhere. And those are schools that we were already looking to schedule non-conference games with before all this expansion happened. So we're excited to have them join the conference. It's going to make us all better and continue to elevate our profile.
Yeah. And Coach, I know we spent longer than what I told you from an interview standpoint, but I'm enjoying it clearly because it's a great conversation. But we always ask our guests, if they're obviously coaches, is how can our listeners, but also Spartan fans, support the program for you right now? And also, what do you need? Because this is going out to the masses, and we will always want to support our own and very support you, because clearly the success you have is just proof of we need to give more to your program. But tell us how we can support you.
Yeah, I mean, look, what really makes Michigan State special is the people, and we've got a really good thing going here. Season tickets is the first time we've been able to offer it this year. We were super excited to be able to offer that to our fans. Came with a really cool exclusive scarf. In soccer, scarves are the thing. You hold up, you pin on your wall, you hang over your door, whatever it is, with our mantra family across it. So that's an exclusive benefit of being a season ticket holder. And the other one, you got to get out to DeMartin Stadium. The environment there, the brand of football we play, it's super fun, super attractive. We keep the ball a lot. We're really dangerous. We score lots of goals. We're relentless in our pursuit of the ball defensively. It's fast-paced. It's high energy. And we got incredible individuals, and people that are involved in our program. So last year, we were 4th in the country in attendance last year, averaging over 2,000. 3 times we had over 3,000, which is more than capacity for the stands. So get out to DeMartin. Those are the biggest ways. When you see our players around campus, you see our players in the community, tell them that you're rooting for them, you're proud of them, you're following along, and we'll continue to grow this thing.
Oh, definitely. Well, I'll be there live and in color, man. But with the lights come on, man, it's a beautiful scene, man, especially on the banks of the Red Sea here.
I'm telling you,
we don't need no rain, right?
Yeah, it's when there's no rain. It's fall. You got the leaves about to change color. Jason's got this blank wall behind him. All he has to do is be a season ticket holder. We can get one of those scarves pinned up on that wall for him.
There we go.
Yeah.
Easy enough.
Got to do that. MJ, I remember seeing her and the rest of your team at the NIL signing situation with This is Sparta NIL Collective, sponsored by Tom Dieters. And she said, then, you got to come to our game. So, look, I listen to her. She's a very serious person, and she's very focused. So, Otis has been doing it a lot. When I'm in town next time, I'm definitely going to come check you guys out. I mean, look, Jeff Hosler, it's been an outstanding interview with you. I know we took a little time longer, but hey, it didn't feel like it. Thank you for joining the show, man. Really cheering for you the rest of this season.
I appreciate it. It's my pleasure. Really enjoyed it myself. Love to be back on sometime. Go Green.
Go White.
Go White.